I walked into the house that evening, the air heavier than usual. Something felt off. It wasn't the sound of the television or the typical chaos that usually greeted me. It was the silence, almost calculated, like it was waiting for me to notice something. And then I saw him, my stepson, sitting on the couch, staring at the TV. But it wasn't just the way he was sitting, so tense and alert, like he was doing something he knew he shouldn't. It was the look on his face, that flicker of panic that shot through his eyes the moment he noticed me. "What are you watching?" I asked casually, stepping closer. My voice was calm, but inside a storm brewed. Something told me this was no ordinary movie night. He fumbled with the remote, clicking buttons too fast. The screen flashed, trying to switch to something else, but I saw it. For just a second, the image froze, revealing a scene so intimate, so forbidden, I almost forgot how to breathe. I crossed my arms, tilting my head. "Is this what you've been doing when I'm not around?" I wasn't angry. Not yet. More curious than anything else. He couldn't meet my eyes, his cheeks turning crimson. I didn't think you'd be home so soon," he stammered. "Clearly." I walked over and sat down next to him on the couch. He tensed immediately, his body language screaming discomfort. "Relax," I said softly. "I'm not mad. I just want to understand." "Understand what?" he muttered, his gaze fixed on the floor. "Why this movie? Why now?" I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. "What are you trying to learn?" His eyes darted to mine, wide and nervous. "It's not like that," he said quickly. I raised an eyebrow. "Then what is it like?" The tension was palpable, stretching between us like a taut rope. He didn't answer right away, and I could see the wheels turning in his head. Was he debating whether to lie or come clean? Either way, I wasn't going to let this go until I had answers. "It's just curiosity," he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Curiosity about what?" I pressed. He hesitated, and in that pause, I saw it. A vulnerability he tried so hard to hide, a need for something. Validation, understanding, maybe both. "It's nothing," he said, shaking his head. But his body betrayed him, the way his fingers gripped the couch cushion, like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. "It's not nothing," I said firmly. "You don't have to pretend with me. I'm not going to judge you." His eyes finally met mine, and for a moment, I thought he might actually tell me the truth. But then he looked away again, the wall going back up. I sighed, leaning back against the couch. "You know," I said, keeping my tone light, "I remember being your age. The curiosity, the questions no one seemed willing to answer. It's normal, you know." You do?" he asked, glancing at me from the corner of his eye. "Of course. Everyone goes through it." I smiled, trying to put him at ease. "But here's the thing. Curiosity can be dangerous if you're not careful. It's one thing to wonder, to explore, but it's another to get lost in it." He nodded slowly, but I could tell he wasn't entirely convinced. "Tell you what," I said, standing up. "Why don't we watch it together?" His head snapped up, his eyes wide with shock. "What? No, that's weird." I chuckled softly. "Why is it weird? You're already watching it. What difference does it make if I'm here?" "It just does," he muttered, crossing his arms like a child caught in a lie. "Okay," I said, holding up my hands. "If you don't want to, that's fine. But if you ever have questions or if there's something you don't understand, you can come to me. Deal?" He nodded reluctantly, and I could see a hint of relief in his expression. "Good. Now, go do your homework or whatever it is you're supposed to be doing," I said, ruffling his hair as I walked past him. But as I headed up the stairs, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Whatever he was dealing with, it ran deeper than just a secret movie. And for some reason, I felt compelled to help him navigate it, even if it meant stepping into uncomfortable territory. Later that evening, I found myself unable to concentrate on anything else. The scene from earlier replayed in my mind on an endless loop. What exactly was he watching? And why was he so defensive about it? I'd offered him an open door, yet it felt like he'd slammed it shut. I decided to give it some time, but fate had other plans. The next morning, as I went to tidy up the living room, I noticed something unusual. The remote was lying on the couch, and the TV screen still had faint smudges from fingerprints. A thought struck me. What if I checked the watch history? Maybe then I'd understand what was going on. Hesitant but curious, I picked up the remote and navigated to the history. My heart pounded as I scrolled. The title jumped out at me immediately, bold and unapologetic. It wasn't a typical movie. It was something far more revealing, something that spoke volumes about the thoughts running through his mind. I sat down, the weight of the discovery settling over me. This wasn't just about curiosity anymore. It was about understanding what he was trying to communicate, perhaps unintentionally, through his choice. There were layers to this, layers I hadn't anticipated. When he came home that afternoon, I was ready. "We need to talk," I said, catching him off guard. "About what?" he asked, his voice wary. "You know what?" I said, holding up the remote. I checked the history. His face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before. You had no right to do that," he exclaimed, his voice cracking. "Maybe not," I admitted. "But I'm worried about you. This isn't just about the movie, is it? There's something more, and I want to help." He froze, his eyes brimming with tears he desperately tried to hide. "You wouldn't understand," he whispered. "Try me," I said gently, sitting down and gesturing for him to join me. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together." For the first time, he opened up. His words came slowly at first, then faster, like a dam breaking. He spoke about feeling isolated, about questions he was too afraid to ask anyone else. He spoke about pressure, about expectations, and about the overwhelming need to find answers on his own. By the time he was done, I realized how much I'd underestimated him. He wasn't just a boy curious about a movie. He was someone grappling with emotions and fears he didn't know how to articulate. "Thank you for telling me," I said softly. "I'm here for you, no matter what. And if you ever feel like watching something or talking about something, let's do it together. No secrets, okay?" He nodded, a small smile breaking through the storm clouds on his face. It wasn't the end of the story, but it was a start. A start to understanding, to connection, to something deeper than either of us had anticipated.